Coming up on this episode of the Mompreneur Show, I'm interviewing Polina Perju, a wife and mother of 4 kiddos and a co-owner of Let's Remodel, a home remodeling company that she owns with her husband. I am Vicky and this is the show that features amazing stories of the most remarkable mompreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Polina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's really good to have you. I'm really inspired by you and your story. And I would like if you could share the story with us. Where are you now? What you do? And how was your journey? How did you come from here? And how long was the journey? What were the struggles? We would love to hear.
Yeah, sorry. So it started 12 years ago when we got married. We had this crazy idea that we're so much in love that we want to spend every second together. So my husband's been always self-employed. So I still remember like it was like our second day or something after we got married. And I said, honey, wouldn't it be awesome one day to work together? And I remember his first reaction was like, work together, really? Because usually you hear all the time, like, okay, I cannot spend every living, breathing second with my wife together. So first it was a little bit funny, but then we seriously thought about it. And we kind of decided together that it's going to be our dream to one day own a company where both of us work on the same project. So yes, it took us a while. It took us total 10 years. So in June of last year, I quit my job and went full-time in business. So now him and me together working on the same thing.
Wow, that's amazing. So 10 years ago, you both started the business, but you were having a side hustle and working.
Yes. So the way it started is we started as just a flooring company. It was mostly my husband. I did a little bit of like office work, but I wasn't really involved because at that point we could not afford it. So I had to work another job. First, I was working in a bank, and then I worked at Mercy Corps. I was actually helping other entrepreneurs, and that's how we actually met with you. I was teaching business foundation courses. I was giving out business grants to small business people, helping them with business plans, and actually assisting them in any way to help and start their own business. So that was my job. And I loved doing that. I actually, after I quit that job, I still teach Russian foundation courses for people who live in Portland, Oregon. I'm starting a new course in March, and I'm still involved within the community pretty much, and I do help a lot, but now I'm mostly in the business.
Wow, that's amazing. So how was the journey? Did you guys start off with a showroom right away? Because you guys have such an incredibly beautiful showroom. Like, did you guys make it right away, or did you guys start small and really bootstrap your business?
No, we started small. We never borrowed any money because we did see a lot of people who went out of business because they borrowed a lot of money thinking, yes, I can make it right away. And that actually took longer than they expected. So our goal was to invest everything we have. So we opened a showroom, I would say 2 years ago now. And at that point, we actually was still a good time to buy a house. And we were looking for a home because we have 4 kids. We lived in an apartment because we were saving all our money to either buy a house or invest in the business. So I remember we were looking at another house, and then we kind of looked at each other and said, are we going to, buy a house and kind of stay a small business? Or are we going to take everything we saved and really invest in the business and go for it? To be honest, it was extremely scary. Because I'm being a mom, I really care about my kids first of all, and I really wanted them to have this beautiful big house because they were really tired of living in a small apartment. It's a 3-bedroom apartment that we had, and they're like 4 little kids. They're now 9, 7, 5, and 3. So really small kids, and they need a lot of space. So after like 2 months of for a house, one day we just thought, we're going to trust the God and we're going to trust the vision that we have and just go for it. So we quit looking for a house and invested all our money in the business, and we're still reinvesting every single penny. We did not borrow any money, and that's how we do it.
Wow, that is so inspiring. So you said no to a house.
Yeah, it was a beautiful house.
To say yes to a business. That's very inspiring because especially, and I'm like totally open to this. I'm like, I speak what I think, but it's very interesting, especially in our community, when we live in a nice house and we own that house, it's that state of class of that, like, you're a certain level.
Yeah.
To say no to about what people think of you and to say no to that status per se, you went and you invested everything into your business. And that looks like it's been the best decision, besides, of course, probably marrying your husband and having those beautiful children.
Yeah. So what it actually did is another thing was always important to me. And I think the reason why I wanted to be in the same business with my husband, I remember when we were getting married, I actually read a book that was talking about that when you get in a marriage, you have to dream about your spouse. So if you're a husband, you're supposed to dream, how to make your wife happy. If you're a wife, you're supposed to dream how to make your husband happy. And I always thought that it's extremely important for any man to fulfill themselves in whatever profession they do. And since my husband was self-employed, I thought the biggest thing I can do to help him and to make him happy is to help him achieve the goal that he has. And he always was talking about his dream to own a business, to have it at a certain level. And I realized without me helping him as much as I can, it might take longer or it might never happen. So I actually, at that point, I decided that it's going to become my dream to have his dream, to fulfill his dream. So I joined him. I actually went and got my interior design education to help him in the business. I quit my idea of having a home when I needed to help his vision. And that actually pays off. When you see your husband feeling that he's achieving his dream, he's happy, that makes me happy. And that makes me feeling like I'm doing my best part as a wife to helping him to achieve whatever dream he has. And definitely I trust him and God that he cares about me to make me happy. But I'm happy as long as he, gets what he wanted.
Wow, that is amazing. What a sacrificial thing that you did, like to really follow his dream. And it's so interesting because that's and when you said when you make him happy, it's reciprocal. Like he will make you happy too. And it seems like he is making you happy. And I love that concept. And I hope that wives who are listening will really take note and really go for their husband's dream. And, I wanted to ask you, well, did you have a dream of your own, or was your dream always to make your husband's dreams happen?
No. It's so interesting how things do change. Actually, before I got married, I did a lot of dancing. I used to do ballet. I know it sounds weird now. It's just
no.
I know, for me, for some reason, it sounds weird. So I used to do contemporary dance after I quit my ballet, and I really wanted to pursue that. I actually had my own group of girls when I lived in Moscow, back in Russia.
We're friends, you guys. We're friends. I had no idea. You gotta teach me some moves now.
It's like my ice cream dream job. Like when you're a kid, people are like, I want to be like sell ice cream. So that's kind of my weird dream. But I definitely quit that dream after I got married at 19 years old. I was like, okay, I cannot be a wife and be on stage.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. So how did you and your husband talk through this? Was it more of you understanding that I want to be for my husband only and not for the audience? Or was it like, how was that? Like, how did you come to that decision?
I don't know. It was like so weird. I loved it. Like that's all I did, besides school. And but then when I got married, I felt weird. Like I'm married now. I should not be on stage. I don't know why for some reason.
Wow.
This weird thing. So after we got married, he gave me another year to wrap my things up.
Wow, that's amazing. I did not know this about you. So this is very, very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in your story that while your husband was mainly running the business, you were going through school to become an interior designer so you can help him out with the design part. And then you were also working, and then you also had your 4 children. Can you please tell me how in the world was the 24 hours enough for you to eat, sleep, and raise your children and be a business owner and to go to school and have a part-time job?
So for 3.5 years, my schedule looked like this. I would wake up at, I think it was 6 in the morning. Yes, I would wake up 6 in the morning. At 7 a.m., at that time when I started, I had 2 kids. I gave birth to my 3rd and the 4th while I was at school. At 7 a.m., I would drop them off at childcare. At 8 a.m., I was at school. I was at work. Then at 5:30, I leave work. At 6 o'clock, I had my classes. And then at 9:30, I would finish my classes. 10 p.m., I would be at home. 11 o'clock, I started doing my homework. And then I think it was like 1 a.m., I go to bed. And that was like that for like 3.5 years. Oh my gosh. So definitely was extremely exhausting. But, and then I was pregnant like twice. Actually, a lot of my teachers just called me this pregnant lady because I was constantly pregnant.
Oh my gosh. So what
2 years.
For 3.5 years, what kept you going? Like what made you get up out of bed? Honey, if you can like tighten it a little bit more because it's still touching. Oh yeah, like that.
Yeah.
If you could. So sorry about that.
No problem.
So what kept you going?
I knew that if I'm not going to finish now, I will never do it. I just knew that in my heart. I didn't know how. And I kept telling myself what I did. Every quarter when I would sign up for new classes, I tell myself, like, Polina, just finish these 3 classes, just finish these 4 classes or whatever was the schedule. I never looked at the whole picture. I always looked at the very small thing and would tell myself, Polina, just this assignment, just do this one thing. And that kept me going. And definitely my husband, he was a huge help. I mean, there were so many times where he would be at home and take care of small kids while I'm doing my homework. So he was a huge help. But what also helped me a lot is I kept telling myself, just this one assignment, Polina, never think of a big thing, just this one assignment, finish it, and then you're good to go. So yeah, that's how you go through it.
So very short term, not looking too far ahead.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, very short.
But did you already have that dream in the back of your head, that long-term dream that you didn't let you scare, that you didn't let it scare you? Like how did you still keep going? What did you not have that vision? Or
I definitely had a goal of becoming an interior designer and, working with my husband and doing that part of a job. But also what helped me is I always thought when I tell my story to my kids, do I want to tell them a story how I gave up? Or I want to tell my daughter, if I could finish school and being pregnant twice, you can be 18 years old and finish school. Like, I don't know. I kept thinking what I'm going to tell my kids and understanding that I rather tell them a story, how hard that was, but I finished it rather than like, oh yeah, I gave up. That was hard. So I decided to give up. So
wow, very interesting. Okay, so let's move on to more businessy side of things. And I love that you shared, the personal stuff, because that always it matters and that always inspires me. Like how other moms do it. So you said you invested your savings instead of buying a house. You guys put it into the business. Where did you invest it, and how did it grow your business?
So first of all, we had to invest. When you rent a showroom, it's basically was a huge empty room. It was like humongous. Like I think it's 2,000 square feet or more, wow. 3,000 square feet. So it's pretty big. So we had to build out the walls. We had to build everything. There was nothing. And we had to buy displays. We had to build kitchens and bathrooms and buy the material that we're going to display. It's just a lot of investment. Then you start hiring people, and there's a lot of training that is involved. There's a lot of figuring out, because I've never hired people and managed them before. It was, me and my husband before. And now when you hire people, that's a whole another ball game.
Wow. So where did you find these people? How did you how did you do it?
So my advice would be, when you first hiring people, try to hire people either or people that were referred to you by people you know. Because at first it's you think you know what people are supposed to do, but unless you do hire a person and have them go through this, you actually do not know anything. Like, I thought I know, and then when I got into it, I realized I know nothing. Like, I really was happy that our first employee was referred to us. So he was a friend of a friend. So he was really understanding while we were figuring out things. So it really helps. And also when you hire someone that you kind of get in a familiar water. Like, their personality, what they like, what they dislike, what their schedule should be. Like, it's feels like a family versus like employer and employee relationship right away.
Very interesting. So once you're hiring once you hired those employees, were they, like, for example, you hired 2 new office employees, and they're not necessarily going out and doing the work because you have other people that do that. How do you deal with that? Like, are you always there training them, overseeing what they're doing, or are you working part-time? Because I'm trying to get into like your schedule, move into your schedule and how you balance everything.
So the way I do is Monday through Wednesday, I'm full-time in the showroom. I manage employees and I do everything that needs to be done. Because one of the lessons I've learned when I was at Mercy Corps, I worked there part-time. I replaced actually one full-time person and one part-time person, and I was able to do all their work in 3 days. So one of the things I realized, it's really depending on your schedule. And I think even statistically, they proved that people really work like 3-4 hours a day the most. The rest of the time, they kind of just not really do anything because they have this expectation. I have whole 5 days to accomplish this task. Because I have only 3 days to finish whatever I need to do in terms of the business, I'm really focused. Like 8 to 5, I'm like business only. So I do manage them by creating to-do lists. I also have an exact scope of work that I expect them to complete each week. And then depending on the employee, sometimes they do have exact projects. And sometimes if it's an inside salesperson, they also help customers who walk in. So I cannot really control that, depending on how many customers we have per day.
So did you say you work only 3 days a week?
Yeah. So in office, I do work Monday through Wednesday. And Thursday through Friday, I can do some tasks not being in office, but mostly I'm trying to concentrate on my kids.
Wow. And so what does that look like? You mentioned that how your day used to look like back in the day of school and part-time job. So how does your day look like now?
So I leave my house at 8. We open showroom at 9. I'm trying to be earlier than that. Then I finish my work at 5. And then when I get home at 6, I usually take my kids to like either a swimming lesson or they have piano lessons. So actually from 6 to 9, we are driving with kids somewhere. And then by 9 o'clock, we're finally home. So then I go to the gym.
So you wear yourself out even more. I mean, oh my goodness, that's unbelievable.
No, actually, that's part of a balance, because when we had a little talk with you before is when we talked about the balance, because I feel like a lot of women, once they get out of the house, they start struggling with all those other areas of their life, because now you not only have kids to take care of or your business, you also have a relationship with your husband. You also need to take care of yourself. You also need the house that needs to be cleaned and vacuumed and all that stuff. So you actually have quite a few chess pieces. I like it to call a game of chess. And my secret is to move all of them a little bit at a time. So I never gave up on any area of my life completely. I never quit exercising completely. I have certain times when I exercise more. I have times when I exercise less, but I do exercise. I never quit like taking care of myself. You know, I cannot have facial every week, maybe every other month. Like I cannot have my hair cut every 6 weeks or something, but like maybe every 3 months. So I never gave up on whatever it is in my life completely. I moved them all slowly at the same time. And that's what I would say I call balance.
That's very interesting. And can you tell me the example that you told me about the blocks and the men and the women differences? Because that was so encouraging and inspiring, and I totally agree.
So one of the things I've experienced while being at school and working and being with my kids, I definitely felt like it's extremely hard. And I was talking to other women that complain how they feel guilty about leaving their kids or not being able to focus on them. For example, even if you do blog or any kind of business from home, you feel guilty because while you're blogging or you're doing your thing, kids totally go crazy, like they mess up your house or they watch too many cartoons or whatever creates the feeling that you feel guilty. But then when you work, you feel guilty because you cannot do your best at work because you always worry about your kids. So I noticed that we're women really like a web, you know, everything is connected for us. We always emotionally connected to so many areas at the same time. And then I look at my husband who can watch a soccer game, be extremely calm about everything else. At this point, he doesn't worry what kids do or whatever else is going on in life. He's focused. He's watching soccer game. That's all he does now. And that gave me a clue. Instead of, I'm still a woman, but take a man's approach to things. So if I'm 8 to 5, I'm in showroom. All I do, I think of Let's Remodel. I'm in a box that's called Let's Remodel. I only think business. I don't worry about my kids. I don't feel guilty not being with my kids right now. But when I'm with my kids, I'm in a box that is called Kids. And I don't try not to take business calls or put them aside for the next day. And I'm really concentrating on my kids only. And at that moment, I tell myself, Polina, you cannot think of a business right now. Just calm down, concentrate on your kids. All that is important. Because that takes that anxiety away. Because what I used to do, I used to be at work, worry about my kids, not being able to accomplish anything at work. And then when I get to my kids, I would be worrying about my work. So I never was present anywhere. I was constantly worrying.
Wow. I feel like that's the struggle. That's the struggle, is really being present with your mind, not only your body. And I struggle with this all the time. I got to be honest, is that, and I feel like running a business from home and having my kids just like right there and just mixing everything together it's such a mess. And it's so easy to mix everything together. And it's so easy to be half with them and half with the business. And what you're saying right now is so inspiring. Blocking off time. Mama, if you're still with us, please give us some props and let us know that you're with us and if you're enjoying our conversation, because I feel like this is very important to talk about, like really blocking out not only your time, but blocking out your mind space and like, what are you working on? So that's very, very inspiring. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, Polina, from your experience?
So from my experience, what also helps me to work with my husband, because I do know sometimes when you're trying to work with your husband, people say that, we have more fights or now feel like all we talk is business. What helped us a lot is we sat together and just divided our responsibilities. So we were really clear what what I'm responsible for, what he's responsible for, what he's good at, what I'm good at, and trying not to step on each other's toes. So if that's kind of his area of expertise, he would still kind of tell me his ideas, and I will listen to him and give my opinion. But at the end, it's his final decision, what he's going to do. If I'm responsible for managing employees and I'm the one who decides on things like that, I will still tell him what I think. I might, hear him out, but he knows that's my final decision to make because I'm responsible for it. So what helps a lot is actually trusting that your partner will do the best decision and kind of really give it away. So if you tell your husband you're responsible for it, you actually trust him that he's going to do a good job of it. Because I see the conflict arises a lot of times where you say, yeah, we're going to work together, and then you fight. Who's going to be that final decision maker on this issue, or you do not agree with your partner and you fight over it. So I would say, divide and conquer.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So do you still talk business on over dinner?
Oh, we do talk politics a lot. My husband is very involved in everything that's going on in Ukraine and Russia and United States, and right now the election period. So he does talk a lot politics besides business.
That's so funny. Okay. So when you guys close the door, does Pavel, your husband, also close the door at 6:00 and also come home, or does he do a lot of overtime?
So he ends up doing a lot of overtime. Actually, most of the time he gets home at 8 p.m. Because he manages the projects, and sometimes, he makes like 20 stops a day. So he drives to different job sites and picks up material and does a lot of things at once. So he definitely gets home much, much later than I do.
Okay. No, well, obviously, if you're growing your business, it's always a give or take. So what about your kids? Like, who helps you with your children? Because when you're running a business like that, you must have some kind of help, right?
Yeah. So we've had 3 different periods. We've had a period where I was dropping off 2 of my kids, as I said, to different childcares. And then we had actually a year and a half where Pavel would be at home for 2 days with kids while I was at work, and then we will switch. I would be at home with kids and he will be working. And I think we've done it for a year and a half. And then we were lucky to find a lady who comes in now to my home and she babysits my kids. So my kids actually think it's their like grandma because they love her so much.
That is so precious. So how did you find that woman that watches your kids?
Again, I think when it comes to a babysitter, what I went through, first I had a big anxiety about trusting anybody with your kids. And then I realized, you know what? Like, we trust grandmas and grandpas. We trust that they love our kids and will take a good care. So it's a similar idea. You just need to find a person you really trust. And actually, kids love her. It's a different kind of love. And that's okay. I mean, they're with her like 3 days of the week. My 2 oldest are at school, but they love her and they think it's their grandma. And so she loves them differently. She takes care of them differently, but really good care. So I kind of learned to trust there should be other people in their life besides me who also love my kids. So.
Wow, that's very inspiring. That's very inspiring because I have that anxiety too. And I can't just like let go. And I know that so many moms feel the same way because it's our babies, and it's really hard to give that parenting.
Yeah, but imagine eventually they're going to go to school, they're going to have friends, they're going to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then husband and wife. They will eventually have people other than you in their life. So it's just a little bit of that experience before they have to do that.
I love that. Thank you for putting it into that perspective. Well, Polina, it was so amazing chatting with you and learning about you. And apparently I didn't know everything about you. So thank you so much for joining us. It was very fun. It was very interactive. Everyone really enjoyed the show, the conversation. And I really appreciate you for all the value and the insights that you gave us.
Oh, Vicky, thanks so much. And by the way, while you guys listening, I have to thank Vicky. One time when I also had this anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm going to do with this, my social media, like Vicky came in and she just pumped me up with this energy and desire to do my best. I actually, thanks to her, I started blogging and doing my own videos too. So Vicky, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. I just love you. Like once you meet Vicky, you cannot not fall in love with her. Like you have to be friends with Vicky.
You are so sweet. Like
no, that's true. Do you remember that meeting? Like after that, I started blogging. So thanks to you.
That is so sweet, honey. I did not even expect you to say this, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I feel the same way about you, and I'm really inspired by you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And let me ask you, do you currently work with your husband, or would you be able to work with your husband? Let me know in the comments below. Join us live next time every single Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Join our lively conversations with the most amazing mompreneurs. I'm your host, Vicky Lashenko, and this is the show that features amazing stories of remarkable mompreneurs. I will see you next time.